Hello, I'm Theodore Gray. I'm the author of The Elements and Mad Science and Mad Science 2 and Molecules and other books. Today I'm going to show you one demonstration from Mad Science 2. This is how to make fire using this chemical, potassium permanganate, KMnO4, and this thing, which I won't tell you what it is, but you can figure out what this is for. Together, we will make fire with it. We'll take some of this. Now, I want to say one very important thing. Part of my job, what I do with my books, is I make things that look very dangerous, and that could, in fact, be very dangerous. So here we go. KMnO4, and something not normally associated with making fire. It works every time. I've never tried to write books because I thought they would be popular. The books I write because I think that it's interesting. I think, I'm interested in something, I want to learn about it, so I write a book about it. And actually, even before I had finished writing the Elements book, before it was published, before I had any idea whether it would be popular or not, I thought there were really three books that would go together: Elements, Molecules, Reactions, because those three things are all of chemistry together. So I didn't know if Elements would be popular enough that I would be able to write Molecules, because if nobody bought the Elements book, then they wouldn't let me write another book. So I was very happy when Elements started selling well enough, and I thought, very good, I can write a book about Molecules now. But then it took me many years to actually figure out what is a book about molecules, really. How do you do that? And so it's great to finally figure that out and written it and finished it, because now we have part 2, and now all I have to do is the third one. For many people, chemistry seems like a frightening thing. I think people think, oh, chemicals, they're poisonous and they're bad for us. But we're all made of chemicals. The fact that I'm talking is chemical reactions happening, and everything in the world around you, it's made of elements and molecules and them reacting with each other. It's all chemistry, it's all elements, and I think all of it is interesting. And the relationship between people and chemistry is that we are chemistry, we are made of chemistry, and we depend on chemistry in everything. If you're breathing, that's a chemical reaction. If you're drinking something, if you're eating something, if you're building something, everything that you're doing, these are all chemicals that you're holding and working with and reacting. So I think that there's no separation. We are chemistry. That's one of the things that makes it so interesting. Everybody always asks me, what is my favorite element? And the first answer that I give everyone is I have 3 children, and I don't have a favorite child either. I like all of them the same. But if you insist on knowing, there are some elements that are particularly nice, and some things in my collection that are particularly nice. So one of them is titanium. Titanium is it's a lovely element. It's a strong metal, and it doesn't rust. I brought a few examples. So this is it's just lovely. I mean, it's a titanium popsicle. You want to eat it. It has a handle, and it's 99.999% pure titanium. 5 nines, very pure titanium. Crystals grown from a vapor, and it's just very lovely. What they do with this sort of titanium is chop it up and melt it down and turn it into things like it's a titanium bowl. It becomes an ordinary thing, although it is a very nice light titanium bowl. So I have lots of different things made out of titanium that are very beautiful, very attractive physical objects that are examples of titanium. There's lots of elements. I mean, this is one of my more recent. This isn't even in my book because I didn't have it when I wrote the book. This is just magnesium. very common, very ordinary sort of a metal. You find it all over the place, but it can be grown into these incredibly beautiful crystals. It's a vacuum vapor deposited crystals, and certainly the most beautiful magnesium I've ever seen. So elements can have many forms, and they can be very beautiful like this, but I think it's also really interesting, like this is a thing that I just brought with. This is just a heat sink from a computer. You find it in any computer. It's a very common, ordinary object, but it's almost pure copper. And you know it's pure because the conductivity, the heat conductivity of copper is better the more pure it is. And electrical wires and heat sinks like this are very pure copper. And then the rest is aluminum, and it's also quite pure aluminum because it works better when it's pure. So even you can find nice examples of pure elements everywhere in very common things. Look at any side computer, you'll find these things. And if you look around you in any room, if you know what you're looking for, you can often find many examples of pure elements or interesting combinations of elements. And that's what I think is one reason why elements are so fascinating, is because it's this combination of the very exotic and unusual, titanium crystals and something that you see in every computer or in any computer shop. They're different sides of the same elements being seen in different ways. There's so many favorite experiments. I mean, as you can tell from my books, I like things with fire in them. I think fire is just interesting, and there's so many different kinds of fire and so many different ways of making fire. I think probably the experiment that has the most, it sort of puts together many different things, is making salt. To do that, of course, you take sodium metal and melt it in a pot, and then you blow chlorine gas at it, because salt is sodium chloride. And you can make them react with each other, and it's a very violent reaction. And both of them, sodium, it's very dangerous. If you drop it in water, it explodes. And chlorine gas is incredibly dangerous poison gas. They use it as poison gas in World War I. And if you've ever smelled a little tiny bit of it, it's painful, just really horrible stuff. And you put them together and you make a horrible fire, big burning loud fire. And what's coming off is just table salt that you eat every day and you sprinkle on your food. And it's a perfect illustration of how chemistry is, how it really matters which chemical you're talking about. You can't sort of talk about chemicals in general, because here you have two chemicals that will kill you without a second thought. And you put them together and make a chemical that you need to eat every day, and that you do eat every day, and it tastes delicious. And sort of my favorite book, I suppose if I had to pick one, it would probably have to be Uncle Tungsten by Oliver Sacks, just because that's the book that kind of got me to start actually writing also. And I've since gotten to know Oliver Sacks, and he's a wonderful writer, and all of his books are really interesting. And I like the way that he, sort of like me, has kind of switched from different interests, and he's gone through different phases and written about many different things that he found interesting. So I think, as an author, Oliver Sacks would be my favorite single author, and he's written about so many different things, so you can kind of pick almost any topic and he's written an interesting book about it. It's amazing to me that this little book that I wrote a few years ago has spread so far all around the world, and to a country as big and ancient as China, and the people here would even care that I wrote this book is just amazing to me. So I'm very grateful to the people who brought it here, and the people who are selling it here, and all the people who are reading it here, because it's delightful. It's really wonderful to know that there are people literally on the opposite side of the world who are reading my book and enjoying it.